How to eliminate cognitive distortions. So cognitive distortions are the thinking patterns that cause anxiety, depression, anger, and all these negative emotions that make us feel miserable in life. Now, if you don't know what a cognitive distortion is, if this is a completely new word to you, I'm going to put a link to a video down in the description that's going to tell you exactly what a cognitive distortion is, as well as teach you the 10 thinking patterns that cause anxiety. But for the rest of this video, I'm going to assume that you already know what a cognitive distortion is, and you're trying to figure out how to get rid of it. And I'll teach you my 5-step process to eliminate cognitive distortions. By the way, if you're new here, my name's Luke, and welcome to Headfulness. This is my channel where I teach you how to overcome anxiety so that you can feel calm, focused, and relaxed, even in stressful situations. So if you're trying to overcome anxiety, or if you're simply trying to manage your stress better so that you can achieve more in life, make sure to click that subscribe button because this is the channel for you. Alright, so how do we eliminate cognitive distortions? What is my 5-step process? Well, the 5-step process is called thought journaling. Okay, and thought journaling is different than kind of your traditional journaling. With traditional journaling, you would set aside a little time every day, either once or twice a day, where you're just going to open your diary and you're going to write down all the thoughts that are going through your head at the time. Now with thought journaling, instead of doing this once or twice per day, we're going to integrate it throughout the day. We're going to recognize the thoughts that are making us feel anxious, and we're going to replace them with more objective, rational thoughts. And it's a simple 5-step process. Now, so let's get into the 5 steps, and actually let's start with step number 0. There's actually a kind of a prerequisite step, and this is to notice the anxiety. So throughout the day, if you notice that you're feeling particularly anxious or particularly stressed, whether you notice that by that there's like muscle tension in your shoulders, or you're biting down with your jaw for no reason, or you just have racing thoughts just running through your head, that's going to be step 0, that you notice that you're feeling anxious. Once you notice that you're feeling anxious, we'll move on to the actual 5-step process. And so to do this, you would take out a piece of paper, and you're gonna lay it out long ways. Now, at the end of the video, if you stay all the way to the end, I'll show you the app that I use that makes this whole process a lot easier, and you don't have to do this all on paper. You can do it on paper if you want to, though. But you would take a piece of paper, and you're gonna lay it out long ways, and we're gonna divide the paper into 5 columns. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, and then we'll make this line so that we have a header. And we'll start going through our 5-step process. Now, step number 1 is to write down the situation. Okay, and the situation is basically the what and the where. Where are you? Where were you when you started noticing the anxiety? And what were you thinking about? Now, so for this video, I've got an example that you're driving home from work, and you start thinking about something you said in a meeting earlier, and you start feeling embarrassed about it. So you would come to the situation and you would say, driving home from work, driving home, thinking about what I said. Thinking about what I said earlier. And you can be more detailed. I'm not going to waste your time here. But so this is the situation. This is the what and the where. Driving home, thinking about what you said earlier, and started feeling embarrassed about it. At this point, we'll move on to step number 2, which is to write down the thought. And the key here is to write down the thought exactly as it appears in your head. You don't want to justify the thought. You don't want to defend the thought in any way. You just want to write the thought down exactly as it appears in your head. And so for this example, we'll say that you were driving home, thinking about what you said in the meeting, and then you say to yourself, I'm such an idiot. I'm such an idiot. Now sometimes it can be maybe more complicated than this. It could be, I'm such an idiot. I'll never be successful. I always say stupid things in meetings. And so on. You would just want to write down basically the whole thought exactly as it appeared in your head. And you know, you can have as much detail or as little detail as you want, but just want to get down the thought basically as it sounded in your head. Now once you've got the situation and you've got the thought written down, we'll move on to step number 3, which is to write down all the cognitive distortions that apply to this thought. And so in this situation, we can see that I'm such an idiot. This is, for one, this is all or nothing thinking, okay? Because you're saying I'm such an idiot. You're basically saying you're 100% an idiot, right? You're not giving yourself any credit for being smart at anything. All right, so that's all or nothing thinking. But then there's also a second cognitive distortion here when we say the word idiot. This is labeling, right? Because you're not an idiot, you're a human, right? So we'll say that it's also labeling. So in this situation, we've got 2 cognitive distortions that apply. Now, if this thought had been something like, I'm such an idiot, I always say stupid things, that would start to add like overgeneralization, and depending on how colorful you get, you could end up with all 10 cognitive distortions fitting into one thought, right? But at this point, okay, so we've got the situation, we've got the thought written down exactly as it appears in our head, and we've identified 2 cognitive distortions that apply to this thought. So now we're ready to move on to the really impactful part of this process. Okay, and so now we get on to step number 4, which is to challenge the thought. Okay, challenge. This is your chance to fight back against the self-talk. Okay, because the idea is like, if another person said this to you, if another person came up and said, you're such an idiot, the thing you said in that meeting was so stupid, you always say stupid things, what would you say back if it was another person saying the same thing to you? You'd defend yourself, right? You'd be like, hey, I'm not an idiot. You'd be like, I'm not an idiot. Blah, blah, blah. I'm smart at this. Just think about the other day in this other meeting, I said this smart thing. I did whatever. You know, it's going to be specific to the situation, but you can always come up with a challenge. And so the idea here is to imagine like if someone else said the same thing to you that you just said to yourself. If another person just called you an idiot, said that you always say stupid things in the meetings, what would your response be? You'd probably come up with some way to prove that you're not an idiot, right? And so that's the challenge. This is your chance to fight back against the self-talk. Now, once we've gone through these 4 steps, now we get to step number 5, which is probably the most important step of the whole process. This is the replacement thought, okay? Replacement. And this is your chance to replace the thought. And the key here is to talk to yourself as if you're talking to a beloved friend. Okay, so at this point, this is the way like a bully would talk to you, right? Now let's think about what would you say to yourself if you were talking to a beloved friend who was going through the same situation, where they're thinking about something they said in a meeting earlier and they feel really embarrassed about it. What would you say to a beloved friend who's going through the same thing? You would say something like, hey, you're not an idiot. You are one of the smartest people I've ever met. You are fundamentally a good person, and there's no reason why you should feel bad about yourself at all. In fact, I actually look up to you as one of my, whatever. You know, this is your chance to actually be kind of gushy with yourself and to talk to yourself as if you're talking to a beloved friend, a person who you really care about, a person who you really want to help feel good inside, okay? This is your chance to become good friends with yourself. You know, if at this point, if you're writing down things like this a lot, you're not really at a point where you're feeling like you're friends with yourself. You're more at odds with yourself. You're constantly battling yourself. This is your chance to talk to yourself like a beloved friend. And so this maybe will be the most personal part of this. The thoughts are actually going to be pretty personal, but now every time you go through this 5-step process, this is like doing a push-up for your brain. Okay, this is your brain's chance to catch its negative thinking, identify the flaws in it, and then fight back against it and replace it with an objective, rational thought. This is your chance to basically work out your brain and exercise your muscles to feel good instead of feeling anxious. Because right now you may be really good, your brain's really good at making you feel anxious, but it's not so good at making you feel like worthwhile and have high self-esteem and feel good about yourself, right? And so this is your chance to practice that whole process. And over time, as you start to write down thought after thought after thought, you're going to start to notice patterns. For me, I had noticed the pattern of driving home from work. Driving home from work was probably my worst time of the whole day. And both driving to work and driving home from work, actually. There was something about being on the road that it would make my brain just go crazy with this negative thinking. And over a few weeks of just writing down these thoughts, of writing down the situation, writing down the thoughts, I started to notice patterns. And I was able to make little changes in my life that kind of alleviated these patterns. And I started seeing way less cognitive distortions. You know, when I first started this, I was probably writing 10 to 15 entries per day. And then by the time where we are now, I'm basically not writing down anything. Not that I have zero cognitive distortions, but I'm just not getting to this point where I'm noticing this severe anxiety and I have to actually write these down. I catch myself with cognitive distortions, you know, throughout the day still, but I catch them so early that I don't even get anxious. It's like I'm almost ahead. I almost see them coming ahead of time. I don't have to wait to get anxious to find out what thoughts are making me feel bad. Now, to make this a little easier, let me show you the app that I use that, it gets this off of paper and so that you can do this on your phone no matter where you are. And so this little app is called the Thought Diary. And when you come in here, you can click Add Entry, and you come up with this exact same process that we just discussed. You write down the situation, you write down the negative thoughts exactly as they appear, and then you select the cognitive distortions. They've actually got a button here, and it shows all the cognitive distortions, right? It's so you don't even have to memorize all 10 of them. It does help to have them memorized, but you'll memorize them eventually after using this app. Then you've got a spot to write your challenge, to fight back against the self-talk. And then it's got this section, alternative thoughts. That's where you're going to be able to write your replacement thought, where you get to talk to yourself as if you're talking to a beloved friend. So that's the app. I'll put a link to it down below in case it helps. But with all of this in mind, let me ask you a question. Do you think you understand this process well enough that you could implement it into your own life and start seeing results from it starting today? If the answer is yes, that's totally awesome. Go ahead and for the next 2 to 4 weeks, write down as many thoughts as you possibly can. And then over the next 2 to 4 weeks, start to identify the patterns in your thinking. Find out the situations that are making you anxious. Figure out the negative thinking patterns. Figure out your most common cognitive distortions. And start to make adjustments in your life so that you can start having way less cognitive distortions and start feeling a whole lot happier. But if you're still feeling a little confused and you're not quite sure how to make it work for you, or you just want a little help, you may be interested in my new online coaching program. It's called Headfulness University. This is my program where I'll have on-demand video lessons, live coaching calls, and for a limited time you can even get a one-on-one coaching call with me absolutely free. In your free one-on-one coaching call, we'll come up with a strategy to help you overcome anxiety so that you can feel calm, focused, and relaxed even in stressful situations. And this will be a plan that combines the things that worked for me, that took me from anxiety. My anxiety used to be so intense that I actually fainted at work and they had to call the paramedics. And it kind of set me on this mission to find the real cure to anxiety, how to really overcome this for good. No quick fixes, no gimmicks. To find a way to fix anxiety both in the short term and the long term. And that's what the Headfulness University online coaching program is all about. So if the stuff I teach on this channel really resonates with you, if just this free content that I put on YouTube has given you a lot of benefit, and you want more, you want to learn the entire system that helped me go from severe anxiety so intense that I actually fainted at work and they had to call 911. They had to call the paramedics for me, to where I am today, which is just a lot more calm, focused, and relaxed. If you want to learn the process that I followed and find a way to make it custom suited for your needs, all you have to do is go to headfulness.com/university, enter your email, and then I'll send you instructions on how you can schedule your free coaching session. Again, it's totally free. There's no obligation whatsoever. I just want to help as many people as I can, because I remember what it was like a little over a year ago when the anxiety was so intense that I couldn't even sleep at night, where I actually fainted at work and they had to call the paramedics, and I had to explain to them that there's nothing wrong with me physically. I just have severe anxiety and I pass out sometimes. And, I just want to help as many people as possible. So if you want to learn this process, just go to headfulness.com/university, enter your email, and then I'll send you instructions on how to schedule your first free call. If you found this video helpful, make sure to click the subscribe button. And if you really liked it, click that thumbs up too. I've got a link down below to Headfulness University. Go ahead and schedule your free call. It's totally free. It'll only take like 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. And even if you don't want to move forward with the paid part of the program, you'll get a free strategy to help yourself overcome anxiety. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.